Welcome. This is Ryan Harding with the Work Harding Home Mortgage Team, and I'm here to present buy versus rent. This is a common question that I get a lot, and I prepared this presentation to help answer this question, to actually give you real data and real statistics, especially here about the Utah region. So it's specific to Utah about whether it's a good idea to buy or rent. Okay. Um, so let's go ahead and get started. A common thing you hear nowadays from the media is that home ownership is the lowest rate it's ever been in 20 years, and they tout this as a bad thing. They say, hey, not many people are buying homes and stuff like that. The reality is, it actually is a good thing. If you look right here, this is about the time, kind of in this area right here, is when the bubble crashed of the real estate bubble, and that's when more and more people were getting into home ownership. So there was a lot of homeowners at that time. Okay, if you can see down here, this is kind of where we're at now. Okay, home ownership dipped down to its lowest point, and now it started to inch upwards a little bit, but still far away from where it was before. All this is telling you is that there's a lot of people still that can buy homes. Let me illustrate this with a story. So if you've ever heard of Joe Kennedy, he actually wasn't a great guy, but we're gonna forget that for a moment. But he talks about his story with a shoe shine boy. Okay, so Joe Kennedy was getting his shoes shined, and the boy proceeded to give him some stock tips, telling him about some good stocks to buy. A few days later, Joe Kennedy sold out of the stock market, got rid of everything, and announced publicly that he thought that the stock market was going to tank. A few months later, this is exactly what happened, and people were asking him, "Hey, how did you know? What happened?" And he made the comment that when he was getting his shoes shined, the boy, had given him these stock tips, and he started to realize that everyone was in the stock market, including a boy, not very old, shining shoes, and he realized if everybody's already in the stock market, how can it keep going up? How can people keep wanting to buy more stocks because everybody's already in it? Okay, that's the same thing with home ownership. Okay, going back to that slide before, we have a lot of people sitting on the sidelines that can still buy homes, and so buying a home prices will continue to go up. If you look at this, for example, so let me just show you these things here. So right during here, this was these people were 33 years old, which is kind of the average age for buying a home, and they were this age during here, and you can see that birth rates actually dipped during this time, and so kind of the same thing. We had so many people that are buying homes, but then birth rates actually decreased, and that's when this happened in 2006. Okay, and so again, another reason why there was that bubble during that time is because you had so many people that were already buying a home, and then birthing rates, these people had dipped down, and so there wasn't as many buyers to do it. Okay, if you look at things today, a lot more on the upside. Okay, we can keep going quite a bit up as things continue to, these birth rates have continued to go up, and you can see again, so not a lot of people are owning homes right now. Plus, there's more and more children who are turning 33, which is that average age for buying a home. Okay, so again, a lot of upside there. Another point to make about renting, rents continue to rise every year. Okay, especially lately, you can see that rents have been continuing to climb up, which then makes it a lot less advantageous to rent, and so that pushes more of those people into wanting to go and actually just buy a home. Kind of same thing. This is just showing you here, if we were to have 4% annual rental increase over time, this is what would happen. So if a rent started off at $1,500, you can see that over time, rents continue to climb at just 4% a year. You can see just in 8 years, you're paying, almost $500 more, which would be like 25% more than what you were paying before, which is a lot of money. Okay. Whereas with a mortgage, that's going to be fixed. Okay, if you did a $1,500 payment, that's fixed for 30 years. That's never going to go up. So let's talk about affordability. Okay, everybody's talking about home prices have gone up here in Utah quite a bit, right? The economy is doing really well here. Things are going up. If you look, so this is affordability over the last 10 years. Okay, so in 2012, home prices were their lowest. Okay, and as time has gone by, you can see that it is getting less and less affordable. Okay, but just to give you again kind of a frame of reference here, Salt Lake City, for example, so the metro area for Salt Lake City in 2006 was at a 50.1 affordability. Again, this was right before that bubble burst. So you can see we're sitting here right around 110, 120, still very affordable for us here in Utah, and nowhere near where it was during those bubble times. Utah employment, let's just talk about that again. Utah is continuing to grow and experience very low unemployment. You can see that again over the course of the last 10 years, the amount of people in employment has continued to grow, which again gives us more home buyers. Median household income is higher than the national average by actually quite a bit, which again explains why our home prices here are obviously higher than the national average also. And then you can see unemployment here, we're sitting about 2.63%. Okay. I just want to look at this graph now. It's a historical graph because here again, during the housing bubble, you can see we're at 7.3% for unemployment. So as things were, ticking upwards, we were not in a good spot. Okay. And you can see that that's why, again, the housing bubble occurred, is because you had less and less home buyers during that time. Okay, right now we're sitting at, again, that 3.9%. That's a national average for unemployment. So talking about housing, if you were to just see 4% appreciation after 5 years, okay, you can see that over 5 years you will have made about $35,000. Okay, that's just an appreciation. Appreciation is that over time the value of your house will go up in value. So your house that you bought at $205 after 5 years will be probably worth around $240, assuming a 4% appreciation rate. Okay, if you were to put this into, this is kind of one of my favorite things, but if you were to put this into dollar terms, as far as like, hey, I invest in the stock market, I'm going to get, let's say a 7% return in the stock market. You can see if you were to put 10% down on that $200,000 house over 5 years, you will have actually gotten 171% return on your investment. That's huge. Again, showing you how good home ownership is. Let's dive down specifically to Utah. Okay, the median home price right now is $345, and this is in 2018. Average appreciation, you can see right here, historical over the last 5 years, we've been experiencing about 4%. Over the last 10 years, about 2.5%. Over the last 43 years, almost 4.5% there. We're forecasted over the next year to continue to get about a 4% return. Okay, so this translates. It's always fun to kind of see these things, but if you were to buy a home today, over the next 5 years, you will have gained about $66,000. And again, this is specific to Utah. That's a good gain, and all you're doing is not paying rent. You're just owning a home. Okay, pretty cool. So let's dive down a little bit deeper here. Okay, let's specifically look at is it good to buy or versus rent? Okay, here's a calculator for you. Let's assume $1,483 a month is what you'd pay for a home that's around $275,000. Okay, you'll have renter's insurance of, let's say, about $22 a month, and let's assume over the course of those years that rent increase will be about 3%. Okay, national average is about 3.6. So that just we're going a little bit lower actually. We're trying to make renting look good here. Purchase price $275. Let's say you put some money down. Interest rates are 5%, which interest rates are currently lower than that. But let's just be a little bit pessimistic here. So a 30-year loan, let's say you have closing costs, property taxes, mortgage insurance, all the different things that you're going to have. And even let's say you're going to go to sell that home, and obviously you're going to pay to sell that home. Okay, so let's look at things. Okay, so this is just from a cash flow perspective. Okay, buy versus rent from a cash flow perspective. So you can see that obviously from a purely cash flow perspective, renting would be better. Okay, so this is saying that it's actually going to cost you more over 9 years in this scenario with these numbers that I've done. It's going to cost you more in renting. Or excuse me, it's going to cost you more in buying than renting. Okay, so renting comes out ahead from a purely cash flow perspective. Okay, so renting does serve a purpose sometimes, especially if you're thinking, hey, we're going to move, stuff like that. From a purely cash flow perspective, you're in a good spot. Okay, but let's look at some other stuff. Okay, we're talking investment here. So over that 9 years, you would have received about $107,000 in appreciation. Again, appreciation is, hey, I bought the home for X. It's now gone up over 9 years, and that's $107,000 in that scenario. Okay, amortization gain. What this is obviously every month when you're paying your mortgage, a portion of that payment is going towards principal. Okay, so this means that you're not just paying rent, you're not just paying interest per se, you're actually paying down the principal. And so over that 9 years, you will have also gained about $40,000. Okay, let's say in this scenario you're going to sell that house at that point, so it's going to cost you, let's just say, $23,000 to sell. And in this scenario, we're going to actually even include zero tax benefit, which depending on your tax bracket, there may be a benefit, but let's just say zero. Okay, then you can see that over that period of time, $112,000 is what you will have gained over 9 years. Okay, so even though from a cash flow perspective you would have lost about $8,000 from if you were to get out of that home after 9 years, you will have actually made $112,000. Okay, pretty cool thing to look at. Okay, and a lot of people look at that, just that cash flow. Hey, I don't know if I have the, that's $8,000 over 9 years, but I mean, if I told you, hey, you give me $8,000 over 9 years, I'll give you $112,000, I think you'd probably go for that. So a lot of people also ask me this question, okay? So is a 5% rise in home prices sustainable? Okay, so we're seeing home prices continue to go up. And so we wonder, hey, is this going to stop? Okay, at some point, right, it's not sustainable. We can't afford these things. It's kind of an interesting thing here, though, okay? So, for example, let's say a mortgage payment is $1,000 a month. A 5% rise in price would make this $1,050 a month, okay? But if incomes also go up, right? So at $5,000 a month, if you just had a 1% increase in your monthly income, that also goes up by $50 a month, okay? But right now we are seeing incomes increase by about 2.5%. So what this is telling you is that, again, it is sustainable because incomes are going up by more actually than the price of what homes are going up by, which again tells you that, okay, hey, I can continue to afford these homes based on the appreciation that's happening. And I think you're going to continue to see that home appreciation, maybe not as fast as we've seen over the last 4 years, but I think you're going to continue to see homes appreciate here in Utah at a good rate as the economy continues to do well and home prices continue to go up. So that concludes my little presentation on rent versus buy. The next step, if you're looking, would be to get pre-approved. That's the first step, and it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. You can apply online directly by going to applywithryan.com and fill out an application online, or you can call me at the number there below, 801-228-0937. We can chat about your situation. Again, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then you know where you sit and how much you can be approved for. If it's a good idea to buy or not. We can talk about your individual situation and stuff like that. So again, I'm here to help. Hopefully this presentation has been helpful for you. And that concludes this seminar.